Oh, hey everyone, and hello to Lise, who I have never co-hosted with before. How are you doing, Lise?
Well, I'm wonderful, Tamara Ugolini. I'm just so delighted that we're working together. I mean, this week is a game changer at Rebel News because we're going to be working together a whole lot these next couple days, and we've
Truly.
got a bunch of amazing stories to tell you about Canada. So can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, this is our little test run of how things are going to go. So, for our viewers, first and foremost, welcome to our daily live stream. Today is Tuesday, April the 15th, and I am your host, Tamara Ugolini, and I'm joined by our friend and regular Rebel contributor, Lise Merle, who is often on today with Sheila, but because of the debates commission and the leadership debates that are happening in Montreal tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have the Westerners flying into Montreal so that we can give you on the ground coverage of those two back-to-back debate nights. And then Lise and I will be relegated to hosting the debates commission live stream. So we'll be live again tomorrow and Thursday night, and that will replace the usual daily live stream that you are tuned into here. So tomorrow, Wednesday the 16th, and Thursday the 17th,
Mhm.
we will not have our regular daily live stream. We will instead start, I think it's at 7:30 tomorrow Eastern tomorrow night,
Mhm.
and then 6:30 Eastern the following night to cover and provide live coverage of the debates, the
Yeah.
leadership
And
debates, again
yeah.
happening in Montreal.
And we are endeavoring to make this coverage for you, Canada, the most entertaining and all-encompassing leadership debate coverage in the nation. Like, you can skip the boiled heads over there at the mainstream media and just tune into Rebel News. We are going to cut through all of the garbage, okay? All of the garbage for you, and tell you the things that they meant to say in the debate, because we know the debates are just, they're a little bit contrived, right? They are
Yeah.
rehearsed. They say all of the things. We're going to cut through all of that and tell you what those people really mean. And with our team of Rebel News journalists in the room, there's
Hmm.
going to be no escaping us. So it's going to be a real interesting couple days here at Rebel News, and we are
Yes.
just delighted to have our viewers along for the ride. So yeah.
Interesting and so busy. So we have 5 journalists heading into the debate directly in Montreal and joined with 2 videographers, if I remember correctly. So 7 rebels total will be on the ground giving you unfiltered, uncensored, straight facts as they come coverage. But
Mhm.
we will simultaneously be doing the same here, hanging back for the live stream. So, with that
Mm.
said, we are currently streaming on a few different platforms. We're streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and X. And so we've been remonetized for the time being. I'm always very hesitant of how this is going to go, but so far, so good. We've been remonetized on YouTube. And so, if you would like to support our journalism or have your voice heard on live on air here on our live stream, then you can give us a super chat or a Rumble rant, depending on which platform you prefer. And then, of course, we can discuss it, answer it, or just read it here on air. It helps us to keep our journalism afloat and, of course, to continue bringing you the other unfiltered side of the story. So, we're going to react to the newsiest pieces and items of the day, unfiltered and unscripted. That's the beauty of the live stream. So, bear with us as we work out any kinks that may arise. And as always, you can see and follow up later with all of our live stream coverage, including clips at rebelnews.com/roundup. So if you want to check us out later, not sure where, you can just follow us along there. And I think we'll be posting the debates live stream tomorrow night at the same spot. Maybe I'll wait to confirm that. But anyway, all the links will be available for anybody who wants to tune in tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern, same place and your same wonderful hosts. So, without further ado, tell us in the chat because we want to keep this new our new duo entertained also throughout this stream. So let us know in the chat, give us some comments, and let us know if you like the chemistry that we're bringing to the stream. Lise and I'm so excited for this.
Yeah.
Okay, Lise. So first and foremost, we will get into what happened to Montreal journalist Natasha. So we've just launched a campaign. Independent journalist Natasha Graham was arrested in Montreal over the weekend, simply trying to cover an anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, aggressive protest that have been happening on the streets in Montreal for the last few years. At SaveNatasha.com. Yes,
Mhm.
SaveNatasha.com. So we are crowdfunding her defense. It's a legal fund there. And I mean, that thumbnail in that video speaks for itself. I mean, the poor thing has her head just smashed up against
Yeah.
the
This
stairs.
this is Canada's best example of police brutality right here in this video. And thank God for Rebel News and the work of our very own Alexa Lavoie, because if it weren't for Rebel
Hmm.
News and Alexa Lavoie, none of us would ever know that this happened. But they took this little woman, okay, who was there
Hmm.
to witness this event. This is a charter protected right that she is pulling off right here as an independent journalist. They slammed her into the ground. They physically harmed her. And at the same time, it looks like they also sexually assaulted her. How this is being allowed to happen in Canada is it is unthinkable. It is unthinkable 5 years ago, and it is unthinkable today. So do join us over at savenatasha.com, because this is one of our own. This is one of our own.
Mhm.
This could be your wife, your daughter, your niece, your sister being arrested like this. Look at these three heathens on top of her. Absolutely egregious. We should be outraged, Canada, all of us together.
It's complete thuggery, and as you said, Lise, 5 years ago now, it was unthinkable, but sadly, this is now unsurprising. We saw the way peacefully assembled Canadians were treated by our own government during the
Mhm.
Freedom Convoy in January and February, well, in February of 2022. So this sadly is unsurprising, and we know that the Montreal Police, the SPVM, are notoriously aggressive, act like thugs, act outside of the law, and they're it's more mob like than actual police work. I mean, they're supposed to be protecting the independent press and freedom of journalists to do their jobs, just documenting and reporting on these kinds of events. And here they are targeting, arresting, and acting like thugs toward these women. Like, and where's the outrage, right, from all those fake feminists who are always like, oh, women in journalism and the Rachel Gilmores of the world. Just crickets, complete
Just
crickets. And
silence. Absolute silence. It shows their duplicity, doesn't it? Because look at here, look right here. So he could touch her literally anywhere on her body, but no, he goes like right for the breasts. I mean, disgusting. These
yeah.
men should not be employed today. Number one, they should be put on administrative leave pending an entire investigation. Actually, you know what?
Mhm.
I'm gonna roll that back. They should be fired outright, and then they can fight for their jobs again, because this is incredible. This is Gestapo level of policing in Canada, and it is happening across the nation. Like, it is wild. It is wild that this happens. So yeah, savenatasha.com, pitch in a little bit. You won't miss that money, but she would definitely appreciate it, and she's one of our own, and she deserves our every support right now. So yeah, do
And
do
I'm
do
pretty
consider.
sure she's also a single mother, if I remember reading correctly. So, not only are times tough for people who have children as it is, but add being a single mother on top of all this, and now she's facing two criminal charges as a result of this violent arrest that she was suffered at the hands of. So, definitely, if you're able to chip in a couple dollars to defend Natasha, she would appreciate it. Here at Rebel News, we would appreciate it because you know
I'm
that we
gonna
don't go down without a
Yeah.
fight.
I'm gonna do
Um,
this right after this. SaveNatasha.com. I'm gonna put in $100. I challenge
aw,
every other viewer right now to pitch in what they can. And honestly, guys, going to this website, it literally takes 10 seconds to contribute to this, and you will be making a difference in her, definitely in her life. She needs our every support right now. So yeah, SaveNatasha.com. Head over there
yeah.
after this.
And then, of course, the mainstream media journalists came to the defense of the police out of some twisted reality that they currently live under. And so we have Alexa Lavoie took to X to basically condemn the actions of this francophone journalist, quote unquote, Francis Pilon. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry, my French is terrible, and I wish I could read and decipher French, but sadly I cannot. So Alexa put this really great post, and she basically fact checked
Hmm.
what he wrote in his article, and things like even getting the time of the arrest wrong. He put that she was arrested at 8 p.m., but really she was arrested at 5:40. um, he didn't even attempt to read any of the work that Natasha Graham has written as a freelancer. Yet he, tried to belittle and disregard her title
Sure.
as a journalist, saying that she wasn't actually a journalist because she's not registered with the same media outlets that he is, coming to the defense of police acting like thugs and mobs. And then, so as for the arrest itself, Alexa notes in here, who literally filmed it and was there witnessing the whole thing, says, as for the arrest, Natasha simply removed the police officer's hands from her hips,
Mm.
right? After he aggressively grabbed her, telling him not to touch her. And you have that right, actually. You can say, do not touch me. There are so many trauma, like police are supposed to take these trauma informed trainings now, where if someone says, don't touch me, or, that's going to send me into a spiral, or I have anxiety or whatever, they're supposed to respect and uphold that and call in, not that I necessarily agree in every instance that that's appropriate, but when a male officer is acting aggressively and and
Yeah.
perhaps even sexually toward an arrestee, a female arrestee, you have every right to say, "Don't touch me. Where's the female officer? I request her."
Yeah.
And so this is disgusting.
The only difference between what happened to, Natasha and what happened to Alexa was Alexa kept her hands up here and backed away with her hands, up here. Natasha had the nerve to remove his hands from her body, and she was arrested. This
Yeah.
I mean, this is an egregious, egregious overreach, and especially against a woman, especially against a
Mhm.
single mom.
Yeah. And this is this is what
Oh
the
my
mainstream
god.
media, the kind of coverage they bring you
Oh
is
my
trying to
god.
discredit and somehow save face for the police that act
I
over,
can't
they exert their authority.
I can hardly watch. I can hardly watch. It just breaks my heart
Mhm.
to watch this. Canada, this is I mean, if this doesn't show the state of our country right now, I'm not sure what does.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not sure
Montreal
what
police,
does.
as I said, they're notorious for being the riot cops, right? You bring in the Montreal police, the SVPM, and they have no issue stomping on the civil liberties of their
And
fellow Canadians.
meanwhile, directly behind them are a group of people that could get arrested, like,
Yeah,
could get
exactly.
arrested. So just like, let that sink in. They are there to be supervisors and spectators and cheerleaders for the actual bad guys, which are in
Mhm.
their line of sight, and instead they tackle a woman to the ground. And I can't even imagine the levels of psychological torture that Natasha is suffering right now, just knowing that she's up against the weight of the entire system against her. So
Mhm.
Canada, we are known for being good neighbors. We are known for being people that dive in to help when the going gets tough for our sisters and our daughters and our friends. And this is the moment for you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're ignoring actual criminal code infractions, a
Yep.
chance of genocide on the street, actually being aggressive, violent agitators, wearing masks, hiding your identity. I mean, this is textbook black bloc behavior.
Yeah.
And yet, journalists trying to simply document it are the ones targeted, harassed, mobbed, and arrested. It is absolute
Insane.
upside down, bizarro world.
It's insane. It is literally insane. Yeah.
But we do have one mainstream media journalist who called it out and said this, called a spade, really. Joe Warmington from
Oh.
the Toronto Sun took to X and he said this is a serious matter that the SVPM, and he tagged, Valerie Laplante, Valerie Plante, she's the mayor of Montreal,
Mhm.
Francois Legault, Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre. Tagged all of them, said this needs and demands an investigation. They should be probed. Natasha is not a criminal. She should not be treated as such, right? Because she's now facing two criminal charges. It's
Mhm.
crazy. It's not supposed to be an authoritarian state, and he goes on and on. And so it's funny to contrast what you see by some of the younger mainstream media
Oh.
journalists, by someone who has a little bit more seasoned wisdom under their hats, what their takeaway is from these
Can
actions.
can we just scroll down and read what Joe says here? Because he did a little interview here and he said, and she said, oh,
I
here we
thought they
go.
were
Hold on.
going the yeah.
They assaulted her again in the police vehicle when they were doing up her seat belt. She's been crying. She reports to Joe that she's been crying for 31 hours. She is terrified and traumatized by this event. And she's being charged with assaulting the police by
Yeah.
taking his hands off her body. This is insane. And God bless Joe Warmington. He is such a good guy, and he is never afraid to get to the real heart of the story. And here, yeah. Oh, look at this. He
She
assaulted me
well,
again in the cop car, pretending to do up my seatbelt when my hands were cuffed behind me in cuffs. I was kicking the chair in front of the other cop to help me. He pretended nothing was happening. Holy sh
yeah, it's and even, saying, "I my cuffs were so tight, I thought they would seriously injure me. I thought they were going to dislocate my shoulders." Like, this is insane. But also it's, again, not surprising, which is a sad state of affairs that we live in here in Canada under our de facto police state. Um, David Menzies, when he's arrested, he had to proactively inform the police, like, you can't cuff me behind my back because he has a shoulder problem. And they will be so aggressive and violent with him that it will re injure a pre existing shoulder issue. And so, because David was arrested, what, 5 times in the last year, just trying to scrum politicians out in the wild, they had to proactively inform the police, hey, if and when, obviously, hopefully never, but given the track record here, when David Menzies is arrested, you cannot cuff him behind his back because he has a shoulder injury. And whether or not they uphold that is another story, but at least they have been warned. But yeah, these people act so aggressively, abuse their authority. They're power hungry,
Well,
and they need to be put back in their place.
nothing shows the rapidly deteriorating nation of the state of the nation of Canada quite as much as this. Like nothing shows it more blatantly than this.
Hmm.
Look, I mean, I can't even hardly look at the image. It is just so
Yeah,
upsetting to me to know that
it
happened.
is.
But again, thank God for Alexa Lavoie. Thank God for Rebel News, because if it weren't for her and us, we would not know that this happened in Canada. So yeah, again,
Exactly.
savenatasha.com.
And the
Savenatasha.com. Everybody
the
go. Yep.
little guy like Natasha, they don't stand a chance going against the behemoth of the state. And so unless you have a coordinated crowdfunding effort, how do you ever get justice for this kind of treatment, right?
That's
It's
exactly right. These are highly trained, highly outfitted. Look at all the gear they were in. I mean,
the
imagine
riot
going up.
police.
Yes, they are. Look at, and I mean, look at this. Look
Oh,
at,
just throwing
oh,
her right to the
I can
ground.
honestly, like on concrete stairs. Way
Yeah,
to go,
it's
guys. Way
terrible.
to go. You
Yeah, they must
absolute
feel really tough.
thugs. Oh,
Yeah.
I bet they do. I bet they do.
Hmm.
I bet they go home and do terrible things to their wives and girlfriends.
Ooh,
Like, these are the
okay. Anyway,
exact type of men.
yeah,
Well, no, not them literally, but that, like, this is the kind of behavior. If you would do this in public, in front of, in front of cameras, like, what kind of person are you? That's what I'm trying to say.
right,
Not that they
right,
would actually do that. So
right. Yeah, it's a disturbing state of affairs. And so, just to go back to kind of that contrast between Joe Warmington and this Montreal-based journalist, I think that this further reinforces Pierre Poilievre's repeated calls to defund the CBC, because these state broadcaster, these bought and paid for journalists, especially the
mhm.
younger generation that's been so heavily indoctrinated to just parrot whatever the party says, it's warranted that now it's completely done away with any sort of critical thinking. You can't, if you see that video with your eyes and your ears for yourself, and you still draw conclusions that we should like somehow back the police in those actions and try to discredit and smear the person who was at the hands of their abusive power grab authority, then you know what? I fully support a defunding of those journalists who are currently siphoning out the taxpayer pockets without our consent to have that funding go that way. So we'll just share this clip of Poilievre, once again, vowing that he's going to defund the CBC.
Will you defund the CBC within 100 days of government?
I don't have a time frame, but we've already said, I've already made my position clear on that, and it hasn't changed. We're going to defund the CBC and let Canadians enjoy it as a nonprofit, self-funded organization. Yeah, which is what I've said all along, while protecting services at Radio-Canada, because without Radio-Canada, the francophones across the country would not have access to that information.
Well, now we have Alexa Lavoie, so I don't know. I beg to differ. Let's get Alexa up and rolling to a higher capacity, and then you know what? We could compete perhaps with Radio Canada.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, I mean, it is so backwards that the entire mainstream media in Canada is being funded by the federal government, and Canadians, a certain segment, not our viewers, but people that don't watch Rebel News, are still under the illusion that they are getting news that is truthful. When in
Mhm.
fact, we have had 10 years of news in Canada that has been just liberal speaking points. I mean, they are paid to lie to you, the mainstream media in Canada, the corrupt mainstream media. And I, for one, can't wait to see the day that CBC is defunded and they have to work the way we do over here at Rebel News. I mean, they will die
Mhm.
of overwork before lunch on the first day. The end. That is a true. I can't wait for them to have to earn their keep.
Yeah.
And I'm taking bets on how long they'll last. I'm taking bets on
Or,
how long they'll last.
maybe just not even take your millions of dollars worth of bonuses at the end of the year. I mean, how is that sustainable when you're on the taxpayer dime? Everybody is feeling the crunch of the economy currently, and you're just laughing all the way to the bank on the taxpayers' payroll with your millions of dollars in bonuses while simultaneously laying off hundreds of journalists.
Yes, yes. Well, it's a
It's the
humongous behemoth.
priorities.
Yes, the CBC is such a humongous behemoth. I mean, their property holdings alone in Canada are enough to make you
Mhm,
want to vomit. Their art collection. I mean, CBC has an art collection that all of their archives that they have to meticulously take care of. The CBC out war is welcome in Canada. Like I would say that it stopped being useful somewhere 20 years ago, but like it's almost laughable
mhm.
that they're trying to defend their position in this day and age. Well, again, I just can't wait for the day to see them defunded. It will be the happiest day of my life. Yeah, it
Yeah.
will be. Yeah.
They're definitely falling behind the times and they can't keep up with the times. And that's very clear when you look at
Yes.
who's watching the CBC. And, repeat the last few times that I've gone out and done some debate coverage. So, including last night, I went to an all candidates. Actually, it was called a meeting because it certainly was not a debate. It was such a yawn fest. But, we asked some people coming in and out, and there was like a mixed bag of liberal, conservative, a little bit of the more independent parties. Lots of, I would say maybe about 50-70% liberal. It was hard to gauge, but I would say about that. And like they have no idea that things like foreign interference are happening. They have no idea that Carney has extensive ties to the Chinese Communist Party, the Beijing regime, Chinese banks, Canadian banks siphoning money through the fentanyl trade. Like they literally have no idea that this is happening, and so, of course, they're none the wiser to it as being an election issue because they legitimately don't know. And that
Right.
is the saddest state of affairs, I think, in Canada, is having not only an ill-informed public, but an uninformed public. These people have no idea what's going on
Well,
around them.
Well, it's not even it's an ignorant public. It is a public that's been kept intentionally ignorant
Yeah.
by the federal government. This is all part of the plan. Getting all Canadian news off social media. You think that wasn't to benefit the Liberal Party of Canada? Of course it was. You think that monitoring and and demanding of the mainstream media the things that they can and can't talk about. Do you think that's not a strategy of the Liberal Party of Canada? If the mainstream media was defunded in Canada, there is going to be a monolithic wake up call to everyday Canadians that rely on the TV, okay, to tell them the news when they realize just what a terrible predicament Canada's been put in over these last 10 years. I mean, that will be a reckoning for Canadians. And you know
Yeah.
what? Rebel News is here to help them through it. I mean, we know we are,
That's right.
we'll help them get caught up to speed, but there is a reckoning coming. There
Hmm.
is. I mean, there's
Hmm.
you can't ignore these things for forever, and yet the Liberals try.
Oh yeah, they're clinging to that last little bit as long as they can, and we'll see. I don't know. I don't trust the polls, but they're putting Carney in the lead. So we'll see. Because we'll take a quick ad break here, and then we'll come back and chat about some of the more aggressive and infringing behavior the Canadian government is currently being accused of.
Yeah.
What if governments are trying to reinvent the wheel when the greatest teacher of all times has already laid out the perfect blueprint for a constitution for a kingdom of love, faith, and freedom? Introducing the Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport. This special edition Freedom Passport captures the foundational truths of love, ethics, and freedom for all. It's a powerful reminder of Jesus' call to love one another and to be part of something bigger that you can carry with you every day. Join the movement, share the truth, and spread the love with your family and friends. Get your Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport at freedompassport.ca. And right now, all orders in North America come with free shipping and a free downloadable song with every purchase.
Why should you join Canada's National Firearms Association? We currently have one of the most aggressively anti-firearm governments in our nation's history, promoting fear and placing blame like never before. Our rights, freedoms, culture, and heritage, it's all on the line. But we are fighting back, and there is strength in numbers. We work within the law to change the law, to defend competitors, hunters, collectors, and other law-abiding firearms owners. We can get through this. We've done it before, and we'll do it again, if you are with us. Canada's National Firearms Association. Freedom, safety, responsibility.
All right, just before we wrapped up that last little segment, we had a few super chats or rumble rants I would like to get to. So Nancy gives $13.99. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Yeah.
It's not journalism, it's a cash cow to keep the fat cats fatter. Defund the corruption. There you go.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you,
That's right.
Nancy.
Yeah, that's right. Well, our viewers know they're not willfully ignorant, and they're obviously informed. So that is an honor to be able to do that work and bring Canadians the other side of the story that they're not hearing from the state broadcaster. Alex Greer gives $2.79 for the media revolution. I think we're already here. I think we've been in the media revolution. Truly, I think the convoy really woke a lot of Canadians up. I talked to so many people who I say, like, what was it for you? How did you find, they say, we never heard of Rebel News before. And now we're like dedicated, loyal, faithful followers. And I say, what changed? What was the catalyst? And a lot of them say that it was the Freedom Convoy. They saw the live streams, they saw the bouncy castles, the love, the party vibe, the true Canadian atmosphere, and the happiness in the air after 2 years of crushing, devastating lockdowns, mandates, social isolation. I mean, that was the healing vibe that so many Canadians were craving at that time. And you saw what was happening on the ground in Ottawa, or you heard from your friends, or you had somebody who was there if you couldn't be. And then you could contrast that with what the mainstream media and the CBC was saying. How they were smearing this as some sort of like domestic terrorism, white nationalist organization. And a lot of people went, wait a minute, that's not what I'm hearing and seeing with my own eyes. And so maybe I can't trust what these people have been telling me all along.
Yeah, and that sentiment has only built over the years, where what the mainstream media tells the people of Canada and what the people of Canada see with their own eyes is totally incongruent. So no, we're just delighted to have the smartest, most engaged viewers in the country. Keep them coming. Like, don't forget to recommend Rebel News to all your loved ones. Feel free to like send a link or text a link, and sort of get around the social media ban of all of our work. Nobody would appreciate it more than us. I'm telling you, Canada, nobody would. So yeah, do feel free to send the links to your loved ones.
And a fun little tip that I've discovered on social media when you're sharing Rebel News content. So our actual website, rebelnews.com, is blocked, right? Because of the, I don't remember, whatever, the liberal legislation that prevents any news sharing on social media platforms. But if you share the YouTube or the Rumble link, you can share it on social media. So just don't share.
Workaround.
Well, it's kind of, it's unfortunate because then you don't get to see where the traffic is moving on the website. And so, but still you can share it and be able to inform your friends on social media if you use the Rumble or the YouTube links.
Huh.
Those are safe because they're not considered a news outlet or a news platform, and even though our website is flagged. So it's a little workaround there. If you want to share stuff on Facebook or Instagram, you can use the YouTube link, and that is considered okay. So there you have it. There's more liberal legislation in action, just preventing all the spread of, under the guise of misinformation. Okay.
I just want to mention really quick. There was a question in the Rumble rant from ATM 16. He goes, I wonder if the French debate will have an English interpreter or English subtitles. Yes, the answer is yes. They will have an interpreter. We are going to be covering this in English, so don't let the French and the most interesting thing about the French debate is they say very, very different things in French than they do in English, and we will be able to compare and contrast those things. So yeah, make a point of joining us tomorrow evening for the French debate, and then the following evening, Thursday, for the English debate. Yes, there will be a translator for us. So,
I don't think that made it into the list, but I saw somewhere earlier today that going through the debate topics for tomorrow night and Thursday night, in the French debate, they're going to chat about immigration, but they're not going to chat about immigration in the English debate. I don't know if we have that if we could find that or pull that up, or maybe, maybe we'll just save that for the debate itself, and that'll be a good topic to get to contrast and highlight, because yes, they say very different things in French than they do in English, and that's why I love having Alexa, because when they don't always have a translator, and even sometimes the translators are terrible and you're like, wait a minute, is that really what they were saying? I'll send stuff to Alexa and say, Alexa, can you fact check this translation? And oftentimes it's not accurate.
So anyway, we're doing all the heavy lifting for you guys. We're going to be here distilling it all. And that's real interesting that they're going to talk to their Quebec audience about immigration, but not to the rest of Canada, who is also real concerned about our immigration issues. Yeah. But tomorrow night's going to be on fire on Rumble and YouTube and wherever we're going to broadcast our debate coverage. So
I can't wait.
Make a plan. Join us here.
Okay, so let's just get into this crazy story coming out of Vancouver. Meghan Murphy, she's a Canadian writer, journalist, now a politician, a feminist, and she often critiques the sex industry, exploitation of women and media, censorship, and of course, gender identity. So she's like persona non grata here in Canada, but she has had her bank accounts frozen here in Canada. So she's now she was going to be running with the PPC during the federal election. Everything lined up. She was good to go to start campaigning. She actually lives in Mexico. So I have her Substack pulled up here, where she explains she left Canada in January of 2021, like many of us wanted to do. I have family that fled to Mexico and has been there ever since. They love it. It's a great time. Anyway, so she left Canada in January of 2021. She's been there ever since. She's been living her best life there. And then now she decided to run with the PPC in the federal election. She was approved. Everything was good. So she was planning to come back to campaign in her riding of Vancouver East in British Columbia. And coincidentally, so I think it's the fifth paragraph down, she says, my candidacy was confirmed officially on Tuesday. That same day, I tried to access my bank account, her Canadian bank account, and could not. Contacted her bank, which is Van City, and was informed the account had been frozen as per direction from the government. I had accessed my account just 2 days prior, so the timing was clear. I'd not been informed of this freezing by anyone, not the bank, not the government. No one attempted to contact me. I was completely blindsided. And so she goes on to continue here that she had her flight booked back to Canada today. And so that was, I think, yesterday or the day before, which she canceled because she says here,
she has no money.
Bank account is frozen.
I can't
operate in the country. And then she's, of course, very concerned about what awaits her when if she were to come back home.
Yeah.
I decided it wasn't worth the risk of persecution.
Yeah, she tries to figure out what happened with the bank. She tries to get in
Yeah.
touch with the bank. Nobody can answer her questions. Nobody answers her calls. She can't get any explanation. The guy that actually froze her bank account went on
Yeah.
vacation for a week. So there is no answers, and she can't access her money. So Canada, again, good thing, Tamara, good thing we have a big banker in charge of the country,
Hmm.
who could fix problems like this. But no, like, I guess the truckers aren't the only ones, and the supporters of the convoy aren't the only ones that are getting their bank accounts frozen. But this should terrify every
Yes.
Canadian that's listening, because if you dare run for public office to do something, to undo the harms that you see with your own eyes occurring in the country of Canada, you know what they're going to do? They're just going to take all your money away arbitrarily without notifying you, and then not give you an avenue of recourse to be able to access it again. I mean, Meghan Murphy has been an outspoken critic of the gender industry in Canada for 10 years. I don't think there's anybody who's been at it longer than
Hmm.
her. And this is what they're doing to women. So this what's happening to Meghan Murphy is, dovetails perfectly with what happened to Natasha Graham.
Hmm.
They're punishing women for stepping out of line, and this is the state of affairs in Canada. It's egregious. It's
I
egregious.
interviewed Megan, I think once, if not twice, in Toronto, and I think then also at the Canadian Christian College. Absolutely lovely
Yeah.
woman, well
Yes.
spoken, well educated, articulate, and who better to run for political office than
Yes.
someone like that, who can
And
speak, who can think.
yes. Yep. And she said she is running for the PPC party because she
Yes.
cannot, in good faith, vote for a party that does not know what a woman is. And you know what? Good on her. Good
Yeah,
on her. Uh,
there
and
it
and
is.
there are a great many women, even in Vancouver East, even on the woke left coast, that will support Megan. But only if we can get her back into the country, only if she can access her own bank account and her own money. But yeah, again, this should set your teeth on edge, Canada, that this is
Mhm.
happening.
Well, if it wasn't any indication of, again, and I keep going back to the Freedom Convoy, but when those bank accounts were frozen, I mean, here we are for 3 years later,
Yeah.
and it's the same old, same old. Like, have we learned nothing about how the government conducted itself? And I like that Megan in her article also points out. She says it's worth noting that the freezing of my bank account at this precise moment constitutes election interference. And we have to be careful
Oh,
on
yeah.
YouTube, because we can't. We have to. You have to be careful about election misinformation. But now she's prevented from returning to Canada to campaign in her riding. So, if we're going to infer what that really means here, that would be election interference.
Yes. Yes, it sure would. And I
Yeah.
think that it also just highlights that Canadians as a people have no rights as it pertains to accessing your own money. If the government doesn't like what you're doing, they will slam the brakes on you, and you will not be able to do anything. I mean,
Yeah.
this is communist China level screwery that's happening to Meghan
Yeah.
Murphy right now. And and we should all be concerned. I mean, is everybody right now in their heads thinking to themselves, "Oh, I wonder if I've done a thing that upset the government?" Well, here we are, Canada, with the government shutting this woman out of her own bank account so that she can't
Mhm.
upset the government more. This is insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
If Mark Carney had any uh had any morals, had any moral bearing, he would see this story and demand all of his banker friends get on this to make sure that this didn't happen if he was going to defend democracy. And
Mhm.
yet, have we heard
All of
anything
them,
out of Mark Carney? Have we
right?
heard anything from him? No.
Yeah. No.
Absolutely not.
Of course
Absolutely
not.
not.
No, he's too busy mingling with Beijing and the Chinese Communist Party of the Chinese Communist Party members.
Yes.
So we have Mr. G here. Just get to some of these Rumble rants and super chats.
Mm,
Thanks everyone for your comments.
yeah.
We really appreciate them. 279, Mr. G says, I was at the Windsor rally, definitely at least 80 people. I think that's in reference to the Freedom Convoy when
Mm.
they were at the border crossing in Windsor. But yeah, that's great to know. And I think that was a huge wake up call for so many Canadians. Like, you thought you were a fringe minority, truly. That's what Trudeau was telling everybody at the
Oh,
time.
we
This
were
is a
all
small
alone.
fringe minority. And you were,
Yep.
well, because of the psychological operation that was deployed on the Canadian public, where you were forced into isolation, then you have no way of knowing if you're not alone. And then we were forced masked. So right away, you're not out smiling at people in the grocery store, making small chat, chit chatting, whatever. The loudspeakers above you are saying, stay 6 feet apart, stay home, save lives, get your vaccine. And so everybody's just miserable. And
Mhm.
you really didn't know that there were others out there that felt the same way as
No.
you until you saw those overpasses just filled to the brim with normal,
Oh,
average, everyday Canadians wanting to
yeah.
come back out and assemble. It was
I'll
beautiful.
just Yeah, in Saskatchewan, I'll never forget it started in Estevan, Saskatchewan, and they came rolling through Regina, and that's when you realized, holy crap, there are a lot of people that are feeling
Hmm.
the exact same way as me. But in that time, they made such an effort to destruct the validation loop that we all depend on to make sure that that you're sort of like in line with societal thinking. I mean, societal norms are real important for civilized society. And they took
Yep.
all of those away. The convoy is what showed us that we were not all isolated, that our thoughts and our observations were not off base. It was just an incredible moment for I'm still proud of us. Like, I'm still proud of
Hmm.
every single person that showed up for that and just really showed Canadians that there was hope for us after all. And this was going to
Exactly.
come to an end. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Ryerson Gary gives $5. Thank you very much.
Mm.
In Poilievre's riding, there are 90 names on the ballot. Next door in
Mm.
Carney's riding, it's the usual suspects. Could it be Liberal Party dirty tricks department at work? Well, I think, did you and Sheila, you spoke about the buttons at the Canada Strong and Free event yesterday?
I mean, we talked about it in private. We didn't talk about it like with our audience here. But
Oh,
our
okay.
shared sentiment is sort of that, if you think that the Liberal Party of Canada operative stopped at buttons, I got a
Hmm.
bridge in Brooklyn to sell you guys, because I mean, that they got caught is one thing. Like, for those of us that are politically engaged, we know that these things happen all the time, or we suspect
Hmm.
that they were happening all the time. Um, but to have it confirmed like this in such a spectacular fashion is
Yeah.
incredible.
Well,
And
it
so,
wasn't it
yeah.
wasn't even a spectacular fashion. I mean, it was kind of happenstance that this journalist was there, overheard them at the bar afterwards, have a few drinks, you're getting a little bit slippery with what you're talking about, and all of a sudden realizes, oh my gosh, these Liberal Party campaigners have conducted themselves with some election interference, perhaps
And
taking some dirty moves to smear the Poilievre campaign and align it with Trump, which is, I would say, for anybody who's following what Pierre Poilievre actually says, is the complete opposite of the look that they're going for.
So and this story has so many different layers that we haven't. That Corey
Hmm.
Tenneke button there, I heard, okay, I heard that Corey Tenneke was booked to be a moderator at that event later in the afternoon. After his
Ah.
podcast came out in the morning, he did not appear as a moderator. So it's really like the way that the Doug Ford campaign is interacting with the federal conservative campaign, and the way that this whole thing devolved in front of our eyes
Hmm.
is actually a really incredible moment in Canada to be able to witness. But again, if you think that the Liberal Party of Canada stopped at buttons, you are out of your mind. Like, of course they are playing dirty tricks. Of course they are conducting election interference. Of course they're trying to sway the election, because we know that there is no end to the depravity of their actions. If you're part of the Liberal Party of Canada, you are hanging on. You are trying to hang on to power so you can keep enriching yourselves and your friends, and they're going to stop at nothing to keep that gravy train on the rails. So
Yeah.
this was just an incredible story. Button Gate, my goodness. Oh yeah, Sheila and I
Button
we were
Gate,
together
that's a
this
good one.
yeah we were together this weekend, and we were doing a lot of talking about all of this stuff. So yeah. Incredible.
Well, and then just yesterday, we have a clip from Ontario Premier Doug Ford saying that, speaking of his campaign manager, Corey Teneke, that if he was managing Poilievre's campaign, then maybe the polls would be a little bit different. So I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit in the stream, but I think it's a good time to play this clip.
Corey was running that campaign. I don't think Mr. Poilievre would be in the position he's in right now, but it's still a lot of time left. We still have debates. At the end of the day, the people will decide which way they want this country to move forward. But sometimes the truth hurts. Corey.
Yeah. So basically, be more liberal is the advice of Doug Ford.
That's exactly what he's saying. Whereas us, diehard conservatives are thinking to ourselves, no thanks, like absolutely not. But I can't imagine how federal conservative candidates right now are feeling towards Doug Ford. He is actively throwing grenades into the federal conservatives campaign, and nothing could be less helpful than Doug Ford with a bunch of microphones saying things that are pissing everybody off, who are working their fingers to the bone to pull it across the finish line for conservatives. And it's not in the campaign management, Doug. Okay. Pierre Poilievre is up against an absolute machine. So we had, if Pierre Poilievre was running against Justin Trudeau, it would be an absolute non-issue. Mark Carney, so the Liberals, created an election cycle that is so short. They are hoping that Mark Carney is going to sail through in his honeymoon period before the country of Canada can figure out how awful he is. But for Doug Ford's camp and for Doug Ford himself to be denigrating the conservative campaign, it is unforgivable. And don't tell me that conservatives won't forget this because or won't remember this later, because they will. I believe that there's going to be a reckoning as it pertains to Doug Ford's actions in this moment, because Doug Ford could just be quiet. I mean, he could just be quiet. He could just let the campaign happen. Let conservatives tell the Conservative Party what they want to hear out of them, and Doug Ford could go away. But no, he's injecting himself in ways that are just insane. And I do think that it tracks back to Buttongate too. Like, this is all part of the same plan. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Doug Ford was it CHTV, or anyway, he was on a less mainstream news outlet, let's say. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to wade into federal politics. And they're like, why not? Why not? They kept pushing back on him just enough to, get him kind of, you could see that his blood was boiling a little bit. But yeah, at that point, he's like, I'm not wading into federal politics. And then here he is yesterday wading into federal politics. It's just textbook Ford, right? He says one thing and then 2 weeks later does another. That's been his legacy.
I don't know how you guys tolerate him out there in Ontario. I'm not sure if, no, if this was, if Saskatchewan would not tolerate a man like this. I mean, we would just not, the end. But
Yeah.
it really does call into question what relationships Doug Ford and Doug Ford's camp have with the federal Liberals. Obviously, he's posted selfies with Chrystia Freeland. He's doing the heavy lifting for the federal Liberals. And if you were being loyal to your party, Doug, you would not say any of the things that you've been saying. So, I mean, it just goes to show Canadians that he is not loyal to the Conservatives. He should not be able to call himself a Conservative from this point forward.
More progressive than conservative by every stretch of the means. Okay, I'm going to read a Rumble script here, and then we'll get to a couple more news pieces, and we'll wrap up our first ever co-hosted live stream with Lise and myself. So it's been so much fun. So this sponsorship comes from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration, but Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. So watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment in the United States and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and you believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us on Rumble, and of course, share out the links. That is always very much appreciated with everyone that you know that may appreciate it and perhaps maybe even not appreciate it, because you never know how they're going to be swayed in their narrow-minded reliance on the state broadcaster.
Mhm.
All right, so we have a few more clips to get to. I think we should probably talk about Mark Carney with the debates and the election happening. He's just admitted, I mean, something that we all knew, just a little bit late to the party and late to the game, that the consumer carbon tax really didn't do anything to reduce emissions. But he praises the Liberals' plan to build eco-friendly new homes.
If you look at the emissions reductions that come from the consumer carbon tax alone, it's about 6%, of the overall emissions reduction. So it's something, but it's not very much. And so the vast majority of emission reduction work is being done by the large emitters, the large polluters. And what we've done there is tightening the carbon market, creating a new system where they are paying for emission reductions of households, so a positive incentive there, reinforcing investment tax credit and other element approaches to drive that clean energy investment. Remember, 80% of final emission reduction comes from final demand for energy, so it matters what happens in the energy system. We're driving that. Last point, we're looking to double the home building, but we're looking to double home building in a way that those new homes are emitting 20% less in the construction of those homes, and those new homes are much more climate efficient when they're built. So you can say that's not a climate plan because it's a home building plan. It's a plan for affordability. Both of those things are true. It's a plan that's targeted at younger Canadians, but it's a plan that's building an entire Canadian industry that is far more.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds like a lot of political speak for nothing, really.
Wow, I was almost bored to death there. I'm surprised I made it through it, to be completely honest. So this is Mark Carney pivoting away from the consumer carbon tax, which robbed us blind since 2018, and instead
Mhm.
pivots to Brookfield housing pods with heat pumps, also supplied by Brookfield, to solve the climate emergency. Now, if Mark Carney was being real honest, he would just start talking about getting rid of couple million a couple million newcomers to Canada, and that would solve our housing problem really fast. But instead, what he's doing is he's creating an industry that his friends and shareholders will benefit from. I mean, Canada, do you want to live in a Brookfield ecopod? Did you, when you were little, did you think to yourself, when I grow up, I'm going to get married and have children and live in a Brookfield ecopod? Of course not. And don't forget, Canada, that heat pumps don't work in our extreme climates in
Mhm.
Canada. So, I mean, he's just gonna put a million people or a couple million people in his little pods and wait for them to freeze to death. Just perfect, Mark
Yeah,
Carney. Just
sorry about
perfect.
your heat pump not working in -20 weather. We had no way of foreseeing any of that from happening,
Yeah,
but my friends got rich, and I'm going to head off to Bermuda now. So sorry about
that's
your
right.
luck, is what we will hear out of the mouth of someone like Mark Carney, who still refuses to divulge where exactly he pays his personal taxes. Is it here in Canada? Is it the United States? Is it in tax haven Bermuda? We don't know a lot about Mark Carney, but you know what? The Liberals
Yeah,
that are parroting and ready to vote for him, they have no idea about any of that, which again is just the saddest state of affairs here in Canada.
really
Maybe we have
is.
time for one more here. I'm going to throw to the Poilievre video where he says that Trump deserves nothing but condemnation for targeting Canada with tariffs. and refusing to lift them as he's done with other countries.
President Trump deserves nothing but condemnation for the unfair targeting of Canada. While he's lifting tariffs and backing down on tariffs all around the world, he continues to tariff our auto sector. There's nobody who's going to be able to control President Trump, as Mr. Carney is learning, despite his promises. What we should do is focus on what we can control, and that is to reverse the disastrous liberal economic policies that Mr. Carney advised Trudeau to take, that have driven up taxes, blocked our resources, wrapped our businesses in red tape, and driven $500 billion south. We need change. We can't afford a fourth Liberal term. We need change to axe taxes, cut red tape, approve resource projects, make this the best place in the world to do business. We should not lift the counter tariffs.
Well, I think that this is a direct result from not negotiating way back in October when the tariffs were first announced.
The people that deserve all of the condemnation here, okay, all of it, is the Liberal Party of Canada, who took an antagonistic, aggressive approach with the United States. They went running into the arms of their friends in Europe, in the UK, and try to pull the wool over Trump's eyes. I think that the condemnation should be reserved for the Liberal Party of Canada, because if it weren't for them, Trump would not have a problem with us.
Exactly. And these all came about because of our porous borders and the drug problem coming out of Canada.
Yes.
And instead of heeding the warning several months ago of Trump saying, you know what, this is a real problem, it's harming Americans. I mean, it's arguably also harming Canadians, but our government hasn't been listening to Canadians like us and us here at Rebel News, who have been reporting on the devastation and the destruction on our streets for years. They won't listen to us, but as soon as there's tariffs involved, it's like, oh, wait, what can we do? So now they've appointed some fancy border czar and maybe put a few more OPP along the border.
Yeah,
But
nobody has seen that guy since the day he was announced as the border czar. Like, he's missing in action. So I mean, how much good work could he actually be doing if he's just incognito in the world, not doing it? But no, Trump was not like covered in mystery sauce. Okay, he didn't make a secret of why he was upset with Canada, and we could have taken him seriously at that time.
Mhm.
Instead, the Liberal Party of Canada picked a fight with Trump so that they could campaign against Trump and not Poilievre. And for those of us that are not engaged, for those Canadians that are not engaged, it looks like it's been a really good tactic. But we just have to keep holding the feet of the fire of the Liberal Party of Canada, because I mean, at the end of the day, it is their disastrous policies that got us in this position.
Mhm.
It is their inaction that got us into this position. And it's because they haven't been listening to Canadians. The end. Yeah.
The end. And also, there are 70 other countries who came to the table to negotiate with Trump over these tariffs. And the only two that didn't were Canada and our ally,
and
China.
That's
So
right.
if that doesn't speak volumes as to where our allegiance currently lies on the world scale under the de facto leadership of Mark Carney, then I would say Canadians are in for a rude awakening, because his campaign has only, I would argue, has only been successful because of the support and lifting up that he has had by the Chinese Communist regime.
Yes. Yes.
That's it. His Beijing connections, his big banker connections, and that is being featured repeatedly in alternative media spaces. Credibly, Sam Cooper has done fantastic work. This dates back to 2023 with the money laundering through Canadian banks. I think that was the National Post. Don't quote me on that, but I broke it down in a report yesterday, and so we could have came to the table and negotiated like Danielle Smith attempted to do in Alberta. And instead, we wanted to escalate. I say we, but Team Canada with their elbows up, wanted to escalate the tensions and call Trump's bluff, but he's not bluffing, and we don't have the leveraging power that he does. So now here we are. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. Yeah. Liberal Party of Canada. Thank you so much for putting us in this terrible position that then
Anyway,
Pierre Poilievre has to eat at a microphone and
well,
try and back away from. I mean, it really is impossible for him. But if it weren't for the Liberal Party of Canada, we would not be in this terrible position. Canada, we would not.
yeah, throw the heat where it is justified and where it is warranted, and stop. Yeah, the conservatives. I think a lot of truly conservative people are so disappointed in the direction. They seemed like they came out really strong, and now it's just kind of fizzling, tapering off. And that is really a sight to see in Canadian politics as the dumpster fire ensues. So hopefully there's a strong debate tomorrow night. So for anyone who didn't join at the beginning of the stream, Lise and I will be co-hosting the Debates Commission live stream tomorrow night. Same place, different time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. And I think it'll go about I think our stream will last roughly 3+ hours. We'll see what ends up happening and whether or not we can get. So Rebel News will have 5 journalists, 2 videographers on the ground in Montreal at the debate itself. And so we'll see if we can bring any of them on for comments throughout or right after the debates and do a little breakdown. But we will not be here during doing the daily live stream tomorrow or Thursday. We will just be doing more extensive long form live stream Wednesday night and Thursday night. So come back and check us out then. I think that we have gotten all the chats here. I don't think there's any more. So that was a great first live stream. Lise, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to doing it again tomorrow night.
Oh, honey, it's my pleasure. I can't wait. I can't wait.
And thanks to everybody behind the scenes who make sure that we have all the links ready and coordinates and orchestrates all of the live stream things that happen to make sure also that our viewers can find us. Thanks to everybody who chipped in a little bit, everyone who watched and shared. Obviously, we couldn't do this work without you, and we greatly appreciate everything that you contribute to our success. We have you to thank for that. And we'll see everybody again tomorrow night for the French leadership debate, 6:30 Eastern. We'll see you on the flip side.
One, we can cut our way, which is what Pierre Poilievre wants to do. Think of how he's going to finance. How's he going to finance his big tax cut? He's going to get rid of the CBC. He's going to get rid of foreign aid. He's going to get rid of dental care. He's going to get rid of child care. See what else he's going to get rid of. Okay, he's going to get rid of all those aspects. And then think that 1,000 flowers are going to bloom. Well, that's not the way things work in a crisis.